I'm bored. Let's react to Pop Culture Crisis. Oh no, I just realized this video is 12 minutes, you guys. Oh, that is so painful. I know that you folks wanted me to watch this, but I didn't realize they had made a 12-minute video about a BS rumor. This story isn't even real. It's not a real thing. And they talk about it for 12 minutes? There must be a lot of fluff in this video. So let's not waste any time. Let's get into this.
Marvel is determined not to learn their lesson if this rumor is true. The rumor has it that Marvel is eyeing Hunter Schafer to cast as Mystique in an upcoming X-Men movie. We have no idea the source for this. It came from an account on X called Marvel News, which is notorious for disreputable outlet.
Take this, however the biggest grain of salt you've ever seen was, take this with an even bigger grain of salt than that. But it's
okay, so they're already establishing here at the very beginning of the video that there is like a massive, I would say like a 98% chance that the story isn't real, that it's not real. So let's establish why they're talking about this story. Hunter Schafer is a trans woman. Marvel is a property that's at the top of their game right now. Rivals is doing amazing, so a lot of people love that. They're on an upswing. They got the Fantastic Four thing coming out. It looks really good for them at the moment. But these guys want to talk negatively about Marvel and trans people. So this story is perfect for them. It is an absolute perfect story that doesn't exist. Let's continue.
It's an interesting discussion to have because there's more stuff going on with Marvel than just this. It's not just this casting. There's
so then why not talk about the more interesting stuff? If there's more interesting things than this that are real stories, if there something that's really going on, you can be talking about that. But you're talking about the fake stuff that you know is fake. Let's continue.
There's still the talk about Storm casting. There's talk of what was the other one? T'Challa recasting Black Panther. There's a lot of news in this realm right now. They've got good publicity going on with the success of Deadpool and Wolverine.
Well, there's not news. There's scoops and fake stuff. The things that you mentioned, Storm, T'Challa, and now Mystique, this is not news from Marvel. So let's be clear here. This is scoops and fake shit.
They had good publicity going on with Daredevil Born Again until the showrunners' statements that were made yesterday. If you want to hear more about that, I have a video coming out about that today, I believe at 8 p.m., but I'll add a little bit to it here. But Hunter Schafer.
Right. So in case you were unaware, Hunter Schafer has risen to fame from roles in Euphoria. Also,
did you see like the disdain in her face here? Watch when she mentions how people would know Hunter Schafer. Like, look at her face when she talks about it. There's a disgust, and it's like right on her face. You can see
about
it.
that today, I believe at 8 p.m., but I'll add a little bit to it here. But Hunter Schafer.
Right. So in case you were unaware, Hunter Schafer has risen to fame from roles in Euphoria, also a role.
Did you see her roll her eyes? She rolled her eyes. She is so upset to be talking about Hunter Schafer because Hunter Schafer is trans, and just the sheer fact that she has to talk about a trans person has already set her off.
In the Hunger Games prequel that starred Rachel Zegler, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, Hunter Schafer is trans, meaning Hunter Schafer is biologically male and identifies as a woman.
I think most people, especially your viewers, know what trans means. But you had to throw a little jab in there. We understand what trans means. It's 2025.
So the rumor is that Marvel is planning to cast a trans woman to play Mystique, which would not go over well, especially not in this day and age where everyone is talking about a vibe shift and wokeness is dead. If wokeness is dead, how is this possible?
Because there's this thing called reality where not everything diverse, not every creative decision that gets made that goes against what you believe is a quote unquote vibe shift has to do with wokeness. Shocker! Shocker, I know that wokeness isn't the only reason why things like this happen. Like, you have this concept in your mind that wokeness and DEI all of a sudden introduce the idea of various takes and adaptations of characters. That's not the case. And then this falls into the pool of the word that these guys are afraid of. When I say these guys, I mean this sort of pocket of the community is media literacy. So first and foremost, you would have to understand the source material, and then you'd have to understand why they would change the source material and what the context is. But since you're talking about a story that isn't real, it's literally you just kind of making up whatever it is you want to make up. We'll get into that at the end of this video.
I don't see it happening.
I think that Marvel News knows what bait they need to run with to engagement.
Marvel News.
I guess, they're not verified on X, so they're not even monetized. So they're just doing it for the love of the game. That's even more impressive. They're like,
I actually think there's a feature where you can be verified and have ad revenue enabled without showing a check mark.
It's funnier if they're just in it for they're just like, I'm just here to spread
chaos in Discord.
That's perfect, right? So they love that a fake scoop would ruin a brand based on lies. They're excited about it. Do you see the energy in their faces? They're like, yay, there's a page here that they're not even doing it for the money. They're doing it just because they want to hurt trans people and they want to hurt Marvel. So these two are excited about that. Always got to rely on those morals and ethics when coming from people that are employed by Tim Pool. Let's continue.
Impressive. They're like, I
actually think there's a feature where you can be verified and have ad revenue enabled without showing a check mark.
It's funnier if they're just in it for they're just like, I'm just here to spread
chaos in Discord everywhere. So here were some of the responses I saw, because I immediately saw some people hate the idea, others are defending it and dying on this hill. One person.
How down bad must you be as a Tim Pool podcast? How bad must it be that you are now simply looking at, you're not only talking about a story that is almost 100% fake. 100% fake. I love debunking these kinds of stories. I love talking about them and going, this is just bullshit, right? It's bullshit. I love doing that. But one thing I think is interesting is they're going to read the comments to a tweet that they've already established is disinformation. They've already established that. But because there's a narrative that they have to push, they're going to read the replies to it. That's why this video is 12 minutes.
Person commented, have they considered getting a woman to play Mystique?
Well, so if you don't know, the character was originally played by Rebecca Romaine and then by Jennifer Lawrence. Those are fairly big shoes to fill, though. A lot of people had their critiques, especially of Jennifer Lawrence, who never wanted to be in the makeup. So she was always, in the first movie, she was in the makeup more in her blue with the yellow eyes. After that, Jennifer Lawrence does Hunger Games and becomes a bigger star. Suddenly, she's not in the makeup as often.
What year was she playing Mystique? I'm pretty sure Hunger Games was her breakout role.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, like, once she does Hunger Games, she's a bigger star. They're not going to put her in the makeup as much, and she has more leverage. She's like, I don't want to wear the fucking makeup.
Yeah.
I don't blame her. No, actually, I do blame her because it's bad. I don't blame her on a.
So you don't. So that was a little flub there, right? That's a flub because you said right there is what you actually believe. You believe that as an actor at that level, you can just say I don't want to do something. That's what you actually believe. But then you stumbled and you're like, no, let me rewind that because I have a narrative to build here. So now you're going to go back and say that, but it should be comic book accurate. It should be comic book accurate. I have a feeling that's what you're going to go. She should have been playing the character the way it is in the comic books because you said the truth first, but now you're going to rewind.
Hunger Games, she's a bigger star.
Change reality and change time.
They're not going to put her in the makeup as much, and she has more leverage. She's like, I don't want to wear the makeup.
Yeah.
I don't blame her. No, actually, I do blame her because it's bad. I don't blame her on a personal level. On a geek level, you should wear.
Right.
You should wear your costume.
But here is the clapback that everyone is using to justify this decision. They're saying Mistake is a shapeshifter and therefore gender fluid. No. So you should cast a trans actor to play this character.
So are we establishing that actors can only play roles that either assign to their gender or sexuality? Is that what we're getting at here? This is the same community. I'm going to get on my soapbox for a second here. This is the same group of people that would argue you should cast the person that's best in a role, in a job. And even if you didn't believe in that, would they argue, I'm curious about this because I think I know the answer. Would they argue that only gay people can play gay people in movies and TV shows? That only trans people can play trans characters? Because if that is the argument that you're going to have about Mystique, that Mystique can only be played by a cisgender woman, then you must be arguing that actors can only play roles that assign to their specific gender, sexuality, skin color, hair color, if that's the argument we're going to make, especially we're talking about a fictional character from comic books. So it's not even a real person. It's a made up character completely. So is that the argument we're going to make, is that a trans person cannot play a cisgender character, but a cisgender person can play a trans character, and that's okay? Or a straight person can play a gay character, that's okay, but a gay person can't play a straight character? That's kind of interesting. Makes you think, wonder, is it hate or nah?
That everyone is using to justify this decision. They're saying Mistake is a shapeshifter and therefore
Mistake.
gender fluid. So you should cast a trans actor to play this character. Here, they responded, Mystique is literally a shapeshifter? Who gives an F? Someone responded saying her shapeshifting is from blue female mutant to human, not trans shapeshifting. It's mutant to human, unless you're saying trans are mutants. And then this person responded, Mystique can transform into any gender. Am I wrong? So why does it matter if she's trans? Hunter Schafer is literally perfect for the role for many reasons.
I can't remember the guy's name on the left. Sorry, I don't remember his name. He's struggling a bit. He's like, this is true. This is true. But then you have, I think her name is Mary, over here arguing so hatefully against trans people. Even though there's people in the comments that are probably actually fans of the comic books and fans of this character that would know better than she would, but she doesn't know because she's a fake fan. I don't believe that she knows the deep lore of Mystique. I'm sorry, I don't. I don't believe that he knows it either. They know the Fox Universe Mystique. They don't know the deep lore of Mystique. You're going to find people on Twitter that know this deep lore. But they're reading the comments because they don't know enough about the character or even give a shit enough about the character to make their own argument. So they're just reading the comments from this tweet.
You're just transphobic.
If I remember reading correctly, I don't read the modern runs of Marvel Comics, but that she's married to Irene Adler, Destiny, and the idea was then to shapeshift into a man so that they could have a kid. I don't read the modern stories, but I know specifically this one story, very specifically this one story that's going to allow me to be upset about this because she had sex as a man with another woman. And so this, I don't read the modern stories, but I'm going to play a game of telephone. I just looked this up on the internet. I'm just going to throw it out there. I don't read the modern runs of Marvel Comics, but that she's married to Irene Adler, Destiny, and the idea was then to shapeshift into a man so that they could have a kid. I'm paraphrasing. I don't remember very well. I just remember listening to videos about that. So that's on brand. I just don't think that they're going to go that far in the movies. It's one thing to do that in a comics run. Whether you want to talk about the Hellfire Gala or all this other X-Men.
So we're still standing on the hill that a trans person can't play a cisgender person. We're just gonna. It's a roadblock. So trans people can only play trans characters, except they can't play trans characters because then these guys would complain that a trans character is in something. So there's no role for trans people, and trans people can't play cis people. And I guess cis people can play as many trans people as they want, and straight people can play as many gay characters as they want. That's fine.
Stuff that Krakoa, the stuff that nobody's actually reading anymore. Bringing that.
Krakoa was actually an extremely popular run of the comics. It was actually probably one of the best things that Marvel had done with the X-Men in a long time. But fake fans going to be fake.
The big screen. I would hope that there is a coke snorting executive somewhere who's got the good sense to come up from his line and say, that just doesn't seem like a good idea.
Another person who doesn't think this is a good idea said, isn't this a dude? Don't disrespect Mystique like that. And someone responded to them saying, Mystique repeatedly shapeshifts into men. What on earth are you talking about, dude? And Hunter Schafer is clearly a woman? Question mark? I wouldn't say it's that much of a settled issue, but another person said, I never participate in fan casting. It just feels like a waste of time. But for once, this is perfect. I love Hunter Schafer. She can eat this up. And with the recent development of Mystique and how they're gender fluid and actually change sex, this would be too perfect.
I'm not gonna lie. I didn't watch any of Hunter Schafer's other stuff, and I did see Hunter. What was it?
So you didn't watch any of Hunter Schafer. This is the really interesting part for me. So clearly he doesn't know a lot about Hunter Schafer. Okay, he just knows that Hunter Schafer is trans. She seems to be very disgusted by this casting. So Hunter Schafer is completely innocent in all of this. This outlet did a fan casting, framed it as a scoop because they knew that people would get outraged by it. And now a trans person is catching strays from people like this for literally doing nothing. Wrap your brains around that. She didn't do anything at all. She's existing in the world. Some person fan casted something, and now you have the blonde chick here going off being just hateful towards her. You have the other guy who doesn't even know who Hunter Schafer is, repeating random stories from the comics that he read on Wikipedia.
Hunger Games, Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. That was the last time I saw Hunter Schafer in anything.
Same. I didn't watch Euphoria. I haven't seen a lot of things that Hunter Schafer is in.
Also, so it's just the fact that Hunter is trans. So neither one of you really know anything about Hunter. Okay, cool.
And another person said, I've always viewed Mystique as trans, so casting Hunter Schafer would be groundbreaking. Other than FX Pose, which was 4 years ago, and shorts here and there, Disney has a terrible track record with trans representation. Hopefully they're brave enough to do this.
This is the thing now where you can't tell any X-Men stories without making it an LGBTQ allegory.
Yeah.
Doesn't need to be that deep. If I remember correctly, the whole point behind Mutants was they wanted a way to create characters without backstory.
You know what I love more than anything are people that aren't fans of X-Men getting mad that X-Men fans want certain things. That's always lovely to me, right? It's always lovely to me when you have two people here who don't really read X-Men now, don't know a lot about X-Men history, but they need to control what X-Men fans want to see. That's so strange. Such a weird thing to me. Let's continue.
Stories, because it was a narrative short to get there.
Well, there was some credence to the fact that it was
it's
partly an allegory for...
Yes, but it's overdone, and it's been done to death now.
Yeah.
It was fresh and new at one point. It's not fresh and
that
new
was also
anymore.
back at a time when gay marriage was seen as a civil rights issue.
Yeah.
Like that was the battlefront for civil rights in the early 2010s.
I still maintain that that's one of the reasons why Gen Z feels cheated, is that millennials had that great cause that they felt that they could take up arms for, and Gen Z just never really had that because of, equal under the law. Look, there's other casting rumors that are going on right now. The one I do like is DeWanda Wise's Storm. Those, a lot of people don't know if they like that. I like DeWanda Wise. I think she's great.
I think we've pretty much exhausted. I don't want to hear any more about the fan casting stuff. That's why the video is so much longer. They want to talk about these other ones. I don't really want to hear them go on and on about it. Specifically, you guys wanted me to listen to them talk about their thoughts on Hunter Schafer's Mystique, which I did. I gave my opinions on it. I don't understand why people who are not fans of something at all, they don't know Hunter Schafer very well, they don't know a lot about Mystique, they're not reading the modern stories, they don't really know a lot about the older stories, they didn't really talk about any deep X-Men lore, they didn't dive too heavily into it. It's very clear that he was just reading stuff off of the internet on his monitor there. It's very clear that she doesn't really know much about it. But for some reason, they thought this was important enough to dive into, doing the least amount of work. They also made it seem like only cis people can play cis people, which is such a weird thing because I'm sure they wouldn't argue that only gay people can play gay characters or only trans people can play trans characters. They wouldn't make that argument. So why does it only work in one direction? So weird to me. So weird. I truly believe, because of the situation with Tim Pool and sort of the shift away from this kind of media, we're seeing a lot of people sort of lose steam and lose traction. If DEI is in fact going away, I made a video about that the other day. If the wokeness stuff is going away, all these things that they complain about, if that stuff goes away, these kinds of channels are going to struggle to maintain any sort of relevance, because reality is the only reason people watch these guys is to be upset. And it's hard to be upset about. I mean, they're talking about a fake story. You understand that, right? This is a fake story. You can't, are they going to become the tabloids of the internet? Is it just going to be fake story after fake story after fake story moving forward? You can't run a website like this. Is going to become very monotonous, very boring, and they're not going to be able to survive like that. Plus, they're obviously getting paid through Tim Pool to do this. And if the views drop off and things like that drop off, these channels are going to go by the wayside. I believe we're going to see a massive declining of these kinds of channels, these kinds of podcasts before the end of the year. I think we will see a handful of them survive. The ones that are on the bigger side will continue because they'll still have some sort of relevance. But a lot of these mid-level to low-level things, they're just going to go away. There's going to be no need for them. People don't need to watch a podcast about two people pretending like a made-up story came from Marvel. It's overdone. I looked online. There's only about maybe 5 to 6 hours a day that people spend on the internet. So they're going to be very picky about what they're looking for. I wouldn't personally want to watch a podcast full of people talking about a fake story about an actress that didn't do anything wrong and like smearing that person's name to talk about what? They don't even care about the source material. So miss me with all that. I'm an X-Men fan. I'm okay with just about anything they're willing to try. It's got to be better than the Fox stuff. So I'm willing to give it a shot. You guys aren't actually fans of it. So maybe you should educate yourself a little bit in this stuff before you talk about it on your podcast.